What's up, Rumors Are True podcast? This is Joey Svensson. You may remember me from Bad Christian or Pastor with No Answers podcast, and I've got some pretty killer news. Me, my brother Jared, and your favorite podcast host, Jeremy Gold, the one delivering to you the episode you're about to listen to, started Roster Music Club. In the last 3 months, club members have enjoyed 6 online performances by some of the very artists you and I love, including Gyro from Mortal, Bill from The Throws, and Ted from Craig's Brother. We've had a couple of hangouts, have established our club's top 10 tooth and nail albums, and we started a war. That's EP Wars, 16 of the greatest EPs going head-to-head in a tournament until we crown the victor. We've been supplying curated playlists. There's a private podcast feed with extra content, and videos of everything that's ever happened in the club is yours when you join. In upcoming months, we're doing a deep dive on all things Radiohead, and as I speak, 3 musicians are listening to the club's top 10 tooth and nail releases, albums we've enjoyed for 30 years. These artists that I rounded up, they're listening to these albums for the very first time, and I can't wait to hear how they react. The Starflyer 59 Silver, Living Sacrifice Reborn, Life in General by MXPX. Hearing these albums for the first time. So we're going to talk to them for a live event, and it'll be released on the Roster Music podcast that you should be listening to if you like this podcast. Hey, the club is free to try for a month, then $10 a month from there on out. And I'll tell you this, not a club member has left since joining, so it's worth every penny. Support the club and this show by joining with this code.
RUMORS. That spells rumors.
Hey, we can't wait to see you there. Rostermusic.club. Go there now and join.
Hey, what's up? This is Scott from Zayo, and you are listening to the Rumors Are True podcast.
Welcome, this is Jeremy Allen Gould, and I'm coming to you today to confirm between God and of man that the rumors you have all heard are true. I started this podcast to have a platform for the bands and artists that I've worked with in the past, as well as new musicians and artists that influenced myself and many others. The Rumors Are True podcast is an opportunity for the artists to tell their story their way. I'm still in the business of confirming rumors. I still love a good conversation, and I still freaking love music. So thanks again for joining me on this journey, and I hope you like what you hear. With that said, the rumors are definitely true. Welcome to this latest episode of the Rumors Are True podcast. My name is Jeremy, and today I welcome the legend Chris Higdon. You know Chris from the bands Elliott, Falling Forward, as well as his new project, Mirrorless. So honored to have Chris on this podcast to talk about his history, of course all the bands he's been a part of, just all the music he's been a part of has just been profound in my life. So I hope you enjoy this latest episode with Chris Higdon. Hey, Chris, what is up, my friend? Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Super honored.
Yeah, Jeremy, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I've been a big fan of your bands from the past, and really excited that I reached out to see if you'd be available. I didn't think it would happen, but I'm really, like I said, honored. And man, your music has been so influential in my life. So, yeah, man, tell me what's going on in your world currently. Tell me what's new in your world.
Well, right now we're just getting ready to do some new dates with Elliott. That's coming up. I'm this point in my life, I'm dad. I've got 2 kids and great family growing up. My wife and I have a photo business that we do, and we just kind of just living the life here in Louisville.
Awesome. I've been to Louisville. It's an amazing city. I went to, what's the record store that was there? Ear Candy or something candy?
Ear Ecstasy.
Ear Ecstasy. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I worked there back in the day in my youth, and sadly it's no longer with us, but we've got a bunch of new, in one giant independent record store kind of leaves, then a bunch of small ones kind of come up and fill the gaps. So
very cool.
So it's really cool. There's a Guest Room Records here in town, Matt Anthony's record store.
That's cool.
Yeah, Underground. I'm trying to think. Underground Sounds is still here. So many. Surface
very
Noise.
Cool. Well, you mentioned your photography businesses. Do you guys just do weddings? What do you guys do?
We've been doing it about 20 years now. So we definitely have done our fair share of weddings. Not as many these days, but when we started, I think, we were doing upwards of 50 weddings
Holy
a year.
Cow.
So
that's a lot.
Yeah, it was too much. So, but now with kids and, wanting to kind of get our weekends back and stuff like that, we're somewhere around 5 to 10. During COVID, we kind of pivoted towards more commercial work.
Oh, cool.
So we did a lot of commercial work here in Louisville.
Very cool. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad that you're, staying busy doing something creative and something cool that you obviously enjoy. And that's awesome that you can have another outlet other than music. That's really cool.
Yeah,
go ahead. I was going to say, what's the website? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, it's ChrisHigdon.photo.com.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I remember, or when you sent me your email, I saw that. I just figured if somebody was interested, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
for them to reach out.
No,
to you guys.
It's a lot of fun, and that's kind of how I got started in the the scene here in Louisville. I would take pictures of all the bands, and that's how I kind of
that's cool.
Ultimately, started bands myself, because it was just. People see you out there and screaming your head off and acting a fool. They're like, "Oh, he could probably do that."
You're angry too, huh? At some point.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, let's talk about growing up for you. You just kind of alluded to it. What are some of those records, some bands, some influences, maybe even some concerts that kind of pushed you in the direction that you've went in musically?
Yeah, for sure. So here in Louisville, I think it's kind of changed, how Louisville was such a scene within itself.
Yeah.
So, while I was introduced and influenced by all the, classic, Minor Threat, Bad Brains, Ramones, all the, just all the punk stuff and hardcore stuff from outside of Louisville, it was kind of the Louisville bands that really did it for me. So you're, Endpoint, King Horse, Undermine, there was just shows, I think starting around 15 or 16 years old, I started going to, shows every weekend, as much as we could. And luckily those bands, were all bringing in, the national acts, but it was always weird to see, how it would end up, with our local bands kind of headlining over the big national bands, but it was still awesome. We got to see, Judge, with Endpoint and Integrity, and
what a show.
But they were all kind of the same, and the Louisville scene kind of always accepted their bands, before anybody else's. I'm sure that happens, everywhere.
Sure.
But it was definitely a thing here. So yeah.
Did you like any mainstream music at all, or was it just primarily underground punk rock?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, starting out for sure. I mean, when I got into music, at a super early age, this was, I feel so old, but this was back when I would go to Woolworths and buy like, 45s of like, whether it be Joan Jett or, the Eagles or, whatever was popular as a, 6-year-old kid that I heard on the radio. I would, my parents would give me money. I'd go buy, some vinyl and, the Jay Giles band or, whatever.
Yeah.
And then just, that just kind of kept going. And then, we started, formats started changing, and then you'd have to get a whole new, I remember getting my first CD player, and then you have to, go out and buy your first CDs, which at least back then seemed prohibitively expensive.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
It was, you're like, oh, I can get 4 CDs,
I know.
and I'd be like $80.
I know.
And then they got cheaper, at least in our scene. But yeah, so yeah, definitely always listen to music. I think the first CDs were The Cult, Sonic Temple,
Great
Beatles, Sgt. Pepper, George Michael's Faith.
Yeah, dude.
So it was the whole gamut.
That's cool though. That's awesome. And it's funny because like I grew up listening to a certain kind of music as well, and the punk rock world kind of came a calling for me. And I there's always that when type of a feeling, and it's cool because at 47 now, I look back and there's a lot of artists that back in the day. For instance, like the Pumpkins, Smashing Pumpkins, I was like, oh, sure. I can't like that. That's not, that's on a major label, and now I'm like, they're one of my favorite bands of all time. So it's just like, it's crazy how, in that time frame, it was like, it was something you found, it was something you held on to tightly, but looking back on it, it's like, it's okay to like, some other things, some other influences, some of the records that you just announced or said, I love those records, love those bands and artists. Right. So,
and I think it's definitely during that time you go through that, what you're saying, where you're kind of gatekeeping or you're militant about what you're listening to, and you kind of have to just really submerge yourself into that culture and get into it and learn about it, and you're just, that other stuff just sometimes doesn't interest you. But it was such a interesting time. I mean, I remember it was the switch over between hair metal and grunge, and so but then all of a sudden, but you're also connecting to all that, the main, quote unquote mainstream stuff, because that ultimately came from our world as well. Yeah. It's funny how you had guilty pleasures back then, but really they were just your pleasures.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's no guilty pleasure anymore. I think that line has been, or that's been cut up, and it's okay to like certain bands now, which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, the resurgence of kind of like whether is it rap metal or whatever. Yeah. But I'm like, wow, okay, the kids, this is what the kids are into.
I know. Limp Bizkit's like massive now, which is so weird. Like, probably bigger than they've ever been, honestly. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, there's a big festival here in Louisville, Hardcore Fest, and I would go, and all the kids have Korn shirts on, like not joking around, weird. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh. That's so bizarre. I totally can relate to that. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your first band, Falling Forward. I actually discovered this band. I was living in Denver for a time, and I used to go to this record store called the Double Entendre. I don't know if you ever got to go there, but one of the guys was like, "You should check out Falling Forward," and so I bought the Hand Me Down record, and I loved it. I thought it was so good, so melodic, so the post-hardcore sound, whatever you want to call it, hardcore sound. Yeah,
Right.
bring me through the beginning of this first band, and your thoughts from joining that band.
Sure. So Falling Forward started, probably right around 91, 92, something around there. I just remember I was a senior in high school. A couple of the other guys, or all the other guys were a couple years younger than me. But it was Jonathan Mobley, Gary Bell, Ben Lord, Benny Clark. And I just got a call one day, and I think it was Jonathan, who was just asking, "Hey, do you want to, sing for our band?" And it I'd never really thought about it, or it occurred to me. And but when he asked, I was like, "Yeah, I guess, I
Had
can
he
do
heard you
that."
sing before?
No, so I would go the way I kind of weaseled my way into the scene, or to talking to bands and doing things like that, was by taking pictures and doing photography. So they would just see me singing and screaming, and being in the mix of the crowd and whatnot. And they basically were like, "Oh yeah, if he's doing either," it was they saw me doing that and they were like, "Yeah," or they're like, "Oh, he hangs out with these other bands,
He's got to know.
he'd be a good person to have in our band." So it could have been political. I have no idea. They'd have to answer that.
What when you joined, were you guys playing with anyone cool? Were you guys getting to open for some of those bands that you were looking up to at the time?
Oh, for sure. Like once they, the Endpoint guys kind of took us under their wing. Their kind of road manager, who's a great guy, Andy. I mean, he's always kind of helped us out, and his label put out the first 7-inch that we ever did. And then Duncan would come into the studio from Endpoint.
Yeah.
Would come in from the studio and help us. I mean, that first 7-inch, we didn't know how to play power chords.
Wow.
Like we were doing, the guys were doing like single note, like da 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 da, like just one finger up and down the neck. So he was like, "Here, here's how you hold your hands. Do a power chord, for these things." So I mean, we were
figuring it out as you go, for sure.
Yeah. Hang on. Sorry, I might need to take a second. Is that bothering you?
I didn't even hear anything, man. You're
not hearing anything?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
No, you're fine, man.
Good.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, you obviously put the 7-inch out, like you mentioned. Did you kind of shop it around to labels, and how did kind of initial come into the picture?
Yeah, that's a good question. The way I remember it, or at least I'm pretty so he was, still up in Detroit at that time, and so it must have been we must have gone up there with Endpoint, or he saw us play with some of the other bands that we were able to tour with a little bit. I'm sure that it had to have kind of happened that way, but it was, very organic, and just, "Hey, you wanted me to, do you want to put out a full length?" And so, we were
stoked?
Were into it. Oh yeah. And it's, everything at that point, everything's done on a handshake, and you just want your music to be out there, and that's what they did.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. It's really awesome how that organically happened, like you mentioned. Let's talk about the Hand Me Down record, the one I mentioned earlier. Love this record. What was that like? Kind of. I know you had been in the studio to record the 7-inch, but like, what was this like recording a proper full length, and being your age and still kind of figuring out things? What was that like in the studio for you guys?
It was good. It was it's a small studio here in Louisville. It's moved since, but I think it's still around. It's called DSL, with Mike Baker is the guy that does all the engineering and producing there. But it was, he wasn't really fully from our scene, but that's where a lot of the bands here would end up recording until they started looking for places outside of Louisville. But he was kind of the mainstay. for a lot of bands here. But really, it's, I think from that first 7-inch and then from Hand Me Down, we were just trying to take that energy and really, try to progress from where we were, which was not hard because we were at the like ground floor of of everything. But Benny was writing a lot of the music. Benny Clark, he was the bass player, so he was writing a lot of it on guitar and then showing the other guys, and then everybody was kind of, putting it all together. But yeah, we're definitely influenced by, all the Endpoint and Split Lip at that time. They were always playing in Louisville as well. Then all this, the DC kind of influence.
Sure. I could totally hear it in that for sure.
Was, what I've always been into. But yeah, it was, we kind of just put it together. At that time, you're just kind of
figuring it out.
Yeah. You're flying by your seat of your pants, and you're hoping that you're doing it the right way, and you just do what feels right.
Absolutely. Was everything written when you went into the studio, or were you writing as you were in the studio?
Yeah, everything was written. I mean, we practiced quite a bit, but we had we honed everything. Everything was pretty much in its place once we got there. Yeah.
How did you feel about the record when it was done then?
I tend to not listen. Well, let me rephrase that. For a while, I will listen to the record constantly, and then at a certain point, it kind of just shuts off, and I just have to be like, okay, it's gone. I can't change anything about it, so let's not dwell on it.
Sure.
And I kind of just let it go. But the fact that it created this atmosphere, and to me, it's it's obviously a very nostalgic thing to kind of go back and listen to. I'm usually not just going back and listen to it for pleasure or because it's, it's like, oh, that's, I love this guitar part or whatever it is. It's usually it just kind of puts me back in that era.
Bring you some memories. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's great for what it is. Where we were at the time.
Was Initial stoked on it?
Yeah. I mean, I think that it was right at a point where they were progressing and they were starting to, and I think it was right around then that they were starting to move back or move to Louisville. Right after that was recorded, if my timing's right. But they did move back they moved to Louisville.
Sure.
And then, at that, I mean, we just loved to be part of what else was going on, because they had, Guilt on the label. They had Ink and Dagger. Yeah. The Get Up Kids, Boy Sets Fire. It was really
it was
kind of coming with,
for sure.
Yeah, it was coming into its own.
Absolutely.
So it was fun to be a part of that.
What was the touring like for this record? Did you guys wind up touring quite a bit? Who'd you guys tour with?
Not a ton, but we got to go on a great East Coast leg of the Endpoint.
Oh, cool.
Tour. I think, and Shift was on that as well.
Shift. Great band.
If you remember them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so we did the East Coast leg of that tour, and then I think Split Lip did the West Coast leg, and maybe Metro Shifter or Sunspring. I'm not sure what band they were at that point, but but that was mind opening, and it was just like, oh, this is what I want to be doing, and it's odd because my memory's not, I think because I was just in like maybe panic mode, I don't remember a ton of that tour. I just remember little pieces of it.
Yeah.
For some reason, but yeah, we did that, and then we didn't do a lot more than the very last tour we did was a Florida tour, which no one told us not to do. And it was fine, but it was, there were some great shows on that little leg.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at the end of that tour, we broke up.
Yeah, well, that's not good. This is where I live, so I hate that I was a part of that. Yeah, bring me through bring me to the end of the band, from your perspective.
Yeah. No, as far as I can remember, I mean, there was no like super bad blood. It was just, I remember sitting in a parking lot, and Gary and then Pat, our another guitarist at the time, they both were like, yeah, when we get home, we're done with the band. And so it was like, okay, then I guess let's go home.
Oh man, that's going to be an
but
awkward
I
drive.
don't know, honestly, I can't remember if we played another show or, where we were at that point in the deal. But yeah, there was, I don't remember any real bad blood. It was just like, okay, well, let's, we immediately, the other three of us, Ben, Lors, and Jonathan and myself, were like, well, let's start something new.
Yeah.
And then that prompted me to start playing guitar, because I didn't want a band to be broken up again.
Yeah.
Without at least the possibility of keeping it together. So I started playing guitar, and then we just got it to the point where we formed Elliott, and then we found Jay, and then Jay joined us, and we kind of went from there.
Yeah. Let's how did the band name come to? Where did that come from? And what was the beginning of Elliott like? Did you feel like you guys were writing, did it click pretty quickly? I know you had played with some of the guys before, but like it was a different kind of music,
Yeah. It was definitely, once we started, so the name came from a good friend of mine. She had two kids, and one was named Elliott, and one was named Nixon. And I think Nixon was already a band.
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, well, how about we just call it a name? Because that hadn't really become like a thing at that point.
Sure.
At least that I can remember or knew of. Things are so different back then compared to now. I mean, now you can check to see what names have been used for bands, but also every name has been used for bands.
I agree with that statement.
So it gets a little crazy, but so we just went with Elliott and took it from there. Then the writing was really just me playing catch up, trying to figure out how to play guitar.
Wow.
and obviously it's, for me, it was just a lot of learning, like a lot of little tricks, power chords, octaves, drop D, and then it's like, okay, now you can write a song.
Did that come natural to you? I mean, was that pretty easy?
Fairly, once I learned to, a few of those little things, but that's, but I haven't really progressed from that, from that point. That's the only problem. But yeah, so it's, we went from there, but for me, and I've always said this, I've said it in every interview probably, but it's like, surround yourself with people better than you are. And then, and then as we progressed and got better, I was able to at least just kind of hold the ground, with rhythm stuff. But, for me, surrounding yourself with, the best rhythm section possible, so they hold everything super tight. And then, Jay added this element of, with his guitar style, and, that I really just, loved and loved his vibe when seeing him playing with some of his bands, and one of his bands was ending, their last show I think was in Louisville. And I was like, hey, you should move here and start a band.
Wow.
and I think other people also were doing that too. So he moved to Louisville, and he was able to play in a couple different bands.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, once you start the band, obviously you put something out on Initial, right? I think the first EP or the first 7-inch, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did the first 7-inch, and then we did, then we kind of did a dual 7-inch, one on Rev, one on Initial.
Okay.
And then I think ultimately Initial put those two 7-inches together or something.
Okay.
On a
What
CD.
bring me through signing with Revelation? What was the thought process with that? I know you had worked with Initial, obviously. I love Revelation. Don't get me wrong, it's great. Was curious why you decided to go with that, and just bring me through that.
Yeah, we had started working on new material. A lot of times when bands either switch labels or it's not against the label they're leaving. It's kind of just sometimes just like, okay, let's see if we can reach a little bit bigger of an audience, or you know where we were, and an Initial did a great job for us, getting us to that point. And we were just kind of looking for the next thing.
Yeah.
And and obviously, Rev having the track record that they've had, and the great bands that we're
absolutely
involved with. I loved Sincefield. I loved obviously
Texas
Reason. They were kind of like right before the Elliott stuff. And I remember because Norm, when he was playing in Shelter, he had come to Louisville and saw Falling Forward, and he was like, you gotta stop this lead singer stuff. You gotta get a guitar and sing. He's like, or just a solo singer kind of thing. He was like, you gotta play guitar and sing.
Wow.
So that was like, okay, maybe that's what I've got to do.
That's cool.
He's an awesome influence. And so we just when we were out in California writing the second part of US Songs, we had just reached out, and then I believe it was Jordan came out to we played some really strange kind of LA show. And he came out and saw us, and then was interested in putting it out. But it wasn't even like a real normal show that we would have, thought to have played. Yeah. It was, but we had recorded the first part of that record in Memphis with Doug Easley, and then recorded the second part of it out in LA.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah. Let's talk about, kind of go on with US Songs. You said obviously you split the recording process up. Was all of it written, in terms of that?
At that time, Kevin was just starting his recording journey. Cause now, he records tons of bands, and that's his main kind of gig. But we started at a warehouse that we all lived in called it was a 953, because it was on 953 Clay Street. It was,
oh, that's cool.
We weren't very inventive with that, creative with that name. But so he had a small studio there. He was using the first digital Tascams that were available. He had two of them, so he had about 32 channels, but this was before really even Pro Tools. I mean, I know Pro Tools existed, but before we had Pro Tools.
Yeah.
And so we just started recording and writing that stuff a lot with those. And I think I might be getting my timeline. I think a lot of that maybe happened right before False Cathedrals, but we were writing everything, kind of having we were sending out tapes. We had to send out tapes to these other people we were working with, just to, show that we were writing music and, doing stuff and getting it done. So,
Was
yeah,
it enjoyable to record this record?
Yeah. We had pretty good. I mean, there was always something, and it was always a little odd, but, we, in Memphis, it was a good experience. I couldn't even tell you where we slept. Like, all I can remember is the studio. So maybe we slept in the studio. I mean, I can't even remember. But the
Oh, to be young.
yeah, but it was a great space. I think, we had heard. I think the Promise Ring record had been recorded there, but we had known, I think also like the John Spencer Blues Explosion recorded there. Like, they had all kinds of really awesome bands.
That's rad.
Had been there before us, so that's kind of how we found that place. And then we recorded out in LA at Rondor Studios, which was our publishing company at the time. And we kind of finished it out there. Mainly for it was less expensive.
Yeah.
So
how did you feel about it when it was done out there, or when that record was done? I mean, what was the feeling like for you?
Yeah, I mean, we were excited. We, like I said, some of our favorite bands were on that label. Just being a part of that whole team, and feeling like you're part of a little bit of, even if it's just a tiny bit, part of that kind of legacy. So, we were excited to get out and tour and, do the thing. But it was definitely, I think, every time you release something like that, or you put everything that you've been working for months or years, and then finally just get it out on tape, like I said before, it's kind of, you do kind of have to just let it go and like, okay, we'll see if anybody else likes this, because this is what we do. Rev was a lot of help getting it out and doing the thing. And then we, touring for that, it was going to be our first. Yes, it was going to be our first tour with Hot Water.
Oh, nice.
Music.
Very cool.
And through them is how we met our booking agent, Eva.
Oh yeah, Eva. I worked with her back in the day when I used to book shows.
Did you? Yeah, she's awesome. And so she would, and I'm sure she had to. I never know how people are received, when they're working with you and working for you, because they're, I'm sure she had to.
Well, yeah, she's got to do her job.
She's got to do her job. But Hot Water had split up right before that tour. I don't know which time that was when they had split up, but so we were kind of like, oh, well, I guess we're not touring. And but she was like, no, like, I'm going to keep you guys, like, we're going to stay with it. She found another, a headliner band, which ended up being Chamberlain.
Oh, nice.
So we did that tour, and it was good. It was, there were some bumps in the roads, but it was good.
Yeah.
And, it was, just being on the road. That's all you want to really do, especially when you're a kid.
Did you had people gotten the record when you were on this tour? Were people singing the songs? What was that feeling like?
Yeah. Oh no, it was amazing. I mean, just, having a little bit of taste of that from Falling Forward. And then, the times where people finally know the songs, it took a while. I mean, I think it I can't remember what the timeline was between it actually releasing and coming out, but I think they were pretty close.
Yeah.
Most of the time we always toured right when the album was dropping, which, now in my old age, I'm like, at least let it be out for a couple months before.
No,
you
totally.
do something.
Absolutely.
Just so at least a few people know what's happening. But I get it. You just, we just wanted to be out there.
Absolutely. How do you feel about the record looking back on it now?
I like it. I think it's the production. There could be some things, but sometimes I listen back and I'm like, oh, that actually sounds good. But yeah, I have no, even with the recording thing is once you can't do anything about it, it's just kind of like, it is what it is. And, but the layout was a big thing for that record for me. I got the chance to do that with,
oh, cool.
With Jason Noble, which he was a founding member of like Rodan and Shipping News.
Yeah.
And so we were able to become friends, which I'm so happy for. And just got to play with how far you could take packaging. And I mean,
it's a beautiful
for that
artwork.
record.
I love it.
Oh, thank you, man. It was a headache getting through the logistics of it, getting through the, just how expensive it was.
Sure.
And now, but it was, it was at that time, it was just right at the beginning maybe of the internet, and, where people were, they were still buying physical copies. So we hadn't quite got to the streaming stuff or even the pirating stuff super hard. And then by the time False Cathedrals came out, it had started to seep in a little bit of the streaming and sharing. And so then we were pushed, where before it was a real headache that we were trying to make these, die cut sleeves and all these extra packaging type things. It was kind of a headache. Then by the time False Cathedrals was happening, it was almost like, no, please do crazy packaging. It's like we need people to want to buy the physical copy.
It has to stick out. Yeah.
It and by that time I had been beaten down so hard that that I was like, I don't know, just put it in a jewel case. It's fine.
I call it good.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Hey, this is Jeremy with the Rumors Are True podcast. Are you looking to spice up your meals with something real? Introducing Voyager Hot Sauce. Born in Seattle, rooted in the heart of Jalisco, Mexico, and built on community, quality, and excellence. Crafted in fresh small batches with agave nectar for the perfect sweet heat. Voyager is more than just a hot sauce. It's a symbol of gathering, authentic connection, and flavor that brings people together. Whether it's tacos, eggs, pizza, or cocktails, Voyager goes on everything. Head over to VoyagerHotSauce.com to hear their story, explore recipes, and place your order today. You mentioned False Cathedrals, the next record, obviously. How long after, U.S. songs do you start kind of working on these songs? Love this record. I love U.S. songs, by the way, too, as well. I want to make that very clear. But False Cathedrals for me is the record. Phenomenal record, top to bottom. And bring me through kind of what that was like, kind of writing this record and with recording it as well.
Yeah. So Kevin had joined the band kind of right as we were still writing, but for U.S. songs. But Ben had left after the first 7-inch. And so we already had a lot of the songs written for U.S. songs without him, just basically him writing his own drum parts. The big difference between U.S. songs and False Cathedrals was Kevin was starting to write some of the music himself. So, and that was always a big thing for me is everybody that can contribute, should contribute. And so there was no, you hear these, ridiculous stereotypes about drummers or bass players or whatever. Like, it's like everybody's got a musical vision and you should listen to everybody, but that was a big difference because Kevin was such a monumental influence in the songwriting. And it's funny because when we were talking before, with the influence you're saying, Smashing Pumpkins was such a big, something that you loved, but wasn't sure if you felt like you should be able to. Well, that was definitely a big, like Smashing Pumpkins and Talk and all these bands. They were big influences on Kevin, and then Jay's writing style coming in, and he was huge fan of the 80s and the new wave goth movement and all that, and just letting everybody, and then obviously my DC kind of guitar stylings and just, not just being more of an octave guy.
Yeah.
That it was like, oh, I've got a part. It's octaves up and down the neck. Just kind of mixing all that together was kind of what created False Cathedrals. And it was definitely like more epic,
yes, it is an epic record for sure.
Soundscapey and than we were doing before.
Were you aiming for that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that was definitely too the time of like we're big Radiohead fans. So hearing something like OK Computer for the first time was like mind blowing, and just being like, oh, it doesn't have to be song per song. It can be these long kind of movements, and but how do we create that in a record atmosphere and still be able to play stuff live and it not be too boring, and so it was definitely, we were just pulling from so many different
absolutely
influences.
What was the recording of this a good experience for you guys? And I mean, did it turn out the way you wanted it to? It sounds like it kind of did.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard for us. We went out to LA and recorded back out. We did for that record, we recorded the main drum and bass tracks and some guitar tracks at Grandmaster Studio, which is a wild place. It's like, it looks like a ship.
Oh, cool.
When you go inside of it, it's just an indescript kind of LA building, but then you go inside, it's like red shag carpet and, and like brass fittings on the handrails, and it's supposed to look like this ship for some reason. It's it was still there from the 70s. Awesome. Decorating, but so we went there, recorded the main tracks, and then we went back to Rondor Studios to do everything else, and vocals and stuff like that there. And that was maybe the first time, or at least that I was aware of like Pro Tools and that whole world. So that was interesting, part of it. But yeah, it was just brutal as far as our scheduling goes, and how much we were getting done, and getting it all done in the amount of time. But yeah, it worked out.
Great record. Love it. How did you feel about it? I know you kind of said you've detached yourself somewhat from the last two records, but it was the same thing, or was it, were you proud of it? Like,
oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely the thing where it's like, yeah, we had it. When you start a band or you start this kind of thing, and I wasn't, I'm not a skilled musician, or I'm not, I don't come from the school of music or anything. So, there can be times where you can either be completely separated and like, that doesn't even sound like myself, or you can just become a fan of your own music, as well, as odd as that kind of sounds. But it right there at that point, I do remember just being like, oh, I can't believe, we pulled this off.
Sweet.
I didn't think I'd be a part of something that sounded like this.
Yes.
And it's not it's kind of a separation from ego, because I wasn't being like, this is the best thing and better than ever. I was like, I can't believe
we did this.
We did this.
Absolutely.
So, but it was cool. But I do remember right at the end of it, the rest of the guys had to jet back, drive back. I think they made like record time getting back to Louisville. I think Jay drove completely by himself.
Wow.
And something, he would know the exact number, somewhere between, I thought it was 26 to 32, something like that.
That's impressive.
But then I heard the cannonball is like 31. So I was like, well, but that's the East Coast, I guess, like far East. So,
yeah.
But he made some good time. Yeah.
That's amazing. What, looking back on it now, like, it sounds like you're pretty proud of it. It definitely,
I'm as proud of it as people enjoy it, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, it was definitely something that we wanted to do, and it was the music that we wanted to write. And then you just kind of let everybody else make the decision whether it's able to hold up or not, and like I think I mentioned, the nostalgia figure of Falling Forward. Like I still can relate, to my 20-something-year-old self.
Wow.
From the False Cathedral stuff, where I'm kind of detached from maybe the Falling Forward stuff, just being so young, or
sure,
but the topics of music, I was trying to like, I was trying to write differently, as far as the lyrics go and things like that, being a little bit, so I could kind of hit it from a different perspective or a different angle, depending on the mood that I was in.
Totally.
When we're playing. So you just don't have to be regurgitating the same emotions every night. But yeah, I think, looking back on it, it's, we're happy with, what we did. And then this is the chapter from False Cathedrals to Songs in the Air. Then things, start getting with more drama and more, making your third record and trying to figure out, what other labels you want to work with.
I was going to say, was there labels starting to creep around?
At that time, I wouldn't say creeping around, but there were, we had some offers and from other labels, and we were considering those. And then we started talking a lot with Arena Rock, who I had worked with in the next band that I did, but that was kind of our goal or our intention with the next record, was to kind of, we were going to deliver what we needed to for our contract with Rev, and then we were going to kind of go see what the next thing got us.
Did False Cathedrals do pretty well, like unit wise? I mean, I feel like it's probably one of the more successful records.
I think it did.
Rev.
I think, for the time and for for actual physical album sales, it did pretty good. I don't know the exact number, but I've always been told by by friends at Rev that, it was one of the higher up.
Yeah, I would think
releases, besides your legends,
Sure.
It's, I couldn't imagine.
Well, it's a legendary record to me on Rev, for sure.
Oh, so. Well, I appreciate that.
No, I mean that. It's. Yeah.
But I finally got to see Gorilla Biscuits this summer. Or maybe it was, I guess it was summer or spring. But that was awesome.
That's so cool, dude.
Yeah, because they were, those are, even though they have nothing to do with or they have everything to do for me about the music I play, but we don't sound like that.
Yeah.
But just being able to see the bands and, for the reasons that you're just like, I want to be on Rev because I want to be on Gorilla Biscuits label. I want to be on Quicksand's label, or whatever.
Great band. That's so awesome. What was the touring like for False Cathedrals? Were you guys on the road quite a bit? And what was that like? What were some of the bands you were touring with?
Yeah, so that's where we get into. So right as we ended the recordings of False Cathedrals and the touring was starting to ramp up, so I got the call that Jay was leaving the band. And, we had just personal life stuff going on. And he needed things to slow down. I didn't at the time have the foresight to be like, okay, we can slow down. I was just in that
take a little bit of a
tunnel
break
vision
or something.
of,
yeah.
I was in that tunnel vision of, we just recorded, we had a European tour booked. Like, no, I'm going to Europe, and so a little short-sighted for myself, but but then when I started calling everybody else about that Jay was leaving, then Jonathan, our bass player, was like, "Oh, I need to tell you."
Oh, by the way.
Yeah. So he had just found out was having his second child. And he was like, I can't do it with two kids. So he had left. So at the end of False Cathedral's recording, before we ever got to tour, we were down two, original members. So, so then came just the mad rush of finding new members and trying to figure out how we were going to
make it work.
Make that work. And our decision, which we got two of our great friends that have been in Louisville bands and we had played with forever, Benny Clark, that was in Falling Forward, and then the guy named Jason Skaggs. And so we got them together, but we kind of rewrote the record a little bit, allowing them to have their influence, or at least especially Benny's influence, on the sound. And so he brought a lot more of the atmospheric, kind of super sweepy, big delay kind of sound to it. And so when we toured, that was the first time, people had the record, but then they came and saw us, and then everything was a little skewed. Everything was, the songs were there, but they were
different,
all just a tiny bit different. And so I think that may have, with every release, you're going to lose and gain some people. They're going to be like, oh, I'm more into the last record, I'm not as much into, but we kind of went, not only was False Cathedrals maybe going to be a little bit of a pill to swallow for your normal post-hardcore, hardcore kid. Once we mixed in different members, I think it was definitely like, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
What are these dudes doing? But, ultimately I feel like it worked out for what it is,
Well, so obviously you have the two guys leave and the new two guys come in. You're touring. Song in the Air, next record. When do these guys obviously write on the new record that you just mentioned?
Yeah.
Okay. And
so Benny and
what's that?
And they were writing on that, and then they. So we get in. We record this record at 953 completely. At this point, Kevin's got a fully professional setup. He's recording bands, all year long there. So that was kind of a blessing and a curse, because we were able to spend so much time on that record. So writing and rewriting, and sometimes I'd come in after a session and that Benny and Kevin had been doing, and the song will be, completely different from where it started.
Wow.
So it took, it was only, we were going to deliver like an EP to Revelation for their,
for the final record,
for the final release, through the contracts and stuff like that. It ended up, we had to deliver a full length. So what that did, we kind of had to go back in once we thought we were done and kind of write a little bit more, stretch out some things. And I feel like that at that time period, it just kind of took the wind out of our sails a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, so, and because we had already been talking with Rain to Rock and to do the next full length with them. So we were we just kind of had to pivot. We were kind of already, we were looking this way, and then we had to go, we need to refocus and, finish what we promised.
Was Revelation aware that you guys were headed another area?
Yeah. Yeah. It was open. And then that's where the decision was like, well, this last release has to be a full length.
Okay.
Or,
I gotcha.
Or we're going to, or you'll be obligated to, we'll release this, but you'll also need to release a full length. So we were just like, okay, we need to change this back to a full length.
Yeah.
So we went back in and reworked and got that together. But by the time we got that out, toured on it, it was, there was just a lot. We were just kind of, Benny at that point was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do the next record, and it's like, and I was at the point where I was just like, okay, I can't find more dudes.
No, I get it. Yeah. And you guys been on the road, and, this is your life for the last however many years. I'm sure you were, and at that time too, when you're touring, you're not playing arenas and stuff, sleeping on floors
we're sleeping in people's floors.
I'm sure that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. And at that time I had met my wife finally, and she would come out on some shows with us, and it's like, I don't want to do anything that screws this up. So, it was just that, and we were just that, you get to that certain points in life where you're just like, okay, I'm at this next stage, and so that's kind of how all that worked. But we got to play with great bands, all in between theirs, from, Hot Water Music to like the Piebald guys, Hank Shaw.
Yeah.
I was trying to think all the different little tours we did. May.
Juliana Theory.
Yeah, Juliana Theory. Further Seems Forever. Get to, tour with great bands and have some good times. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the record looking back on it? I mean, it sounds like it was, you had one concept of it, you had to add more to it, so it just maybe wasn't the complete vision that you had intended.
Right. Well, I ultimately really loved a lot of those songs. Like, maybe even what's hard too is because now that we've gone back and so with the reunion stuff that Elliott started doing, Jay came back to the band. And so, and then we do have Ashley playing bass now. So she's new to the mix, but, and we're playing those songs how they are on the record, not how we kind of reimagine them. And so we really kind of haven't had that. We haven't played with the Song in the Air stuff.
Oh, wow.
That much because Jay wasn't really involved with that. Not that it couldn't go both ways, but we just haven't played with that yet. So I haven't really got to think about too much of those songs compared to the False Cathedrals and the U.S. songs, which we've been picking out and deciding what songs we're doing live and whatnot. But overall, if just the album in general, it's I felt like it was our most, well, it's just the last thing we did. So, I felt like it was a little bit more put together, just in the fact that we spent so much time on it. And that was kind of why our, we might've lost a little bit of steam, is because we did end up spending, because we went back in. I mean, I think ultimately we were recording off and on for like a year and a half or more.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was silly.
That's hilarious.
We were used to going into the studio, getting things done, and I think maybe 2 weeks, was kind of an average.
Yeah. A year and a half is a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost to your detriment too, you're like,
It is.
probably overthinking things and,
Overthinking
I could redo
everything.
this or I could redo it. Cause time's not a limit,
Yeah. There's nothing stopping us from spending weeks on one part. And so we would,
Yeah, no, I get that. Well, so you kind of alluded to the end of the band in some way, shape, or form, and obviously members leaving after this record comes out. Yeah, bring me through your perspective of kind of what led to the end of the band ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is just kind of everybody was at a little bit different stages, and Benny, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but I'm just sure he was looking to expand what he was doing musically in a different way. And same with Kevin, and I think we were just at a point where we just weren't hitting the kind of strides that other bands were kind of hitting, and that's just the truth of it, and we, can be a rough life, and a great life, but it's not all, it's being in a van, sleeping on the floors, doing everything,
getting paid
for
money.
Maybe a 45-minute set.
Yep.
That is the whole reason you're there. It's just, it can wear on you for a little while. Yeah. So, we were just kind of tired.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. I mean, I feel like that's, especially for bands at the time that you guys were, doing that's probably the norm, hey, I'm tired, I want to sleep in my own bed. I want to have a relationship right. Or I want to have, cause that's tough to do both of those things when you're on the road.
No, for sure. And and we weren't in what, not to anyone else's, only to our own detriment. Sometimes I was so focused just on like getting to the show, being there on time.
Yeah.
Sound check. Like, so we weren't like the biggest hang band, like, especially in the beginning. We got better as we got older to just kind of chill out a little bit. But, so we didn't have a lot of the like, super tight relationships with other bands that I think helps you as you progress, when you have these kind of teams or scenes,
sure,
of bands around with you. Because we would play with everybody, we had went on tour with, Les and Jake on
crazy,
small runs. It was right before all that stuff kind of started solidifying together.
Yeah.
We had done a small run with All.
Wow.
But nothing that we wanted to play shows that didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't know if that was smart.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
In the long run. Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Well, when the band was over, what did that feel like? Were you bummed? Were you stoked? Were you relieved? Did you feel like, hey, this was my identity the last couple of years, like, this is hard to deal with? What was that like?
Yeah, no, for sure. I can relate to that. I think for me, I immediately thought I would start something new pretty fast. That was not the case. It took me a long time to get the right group of people or a group of people together to play again. But yeah, from that point, it was like I was kind of heading into a different part of my life too. So I was, getting married,
mm-hmm.
buying the first house, doing all the stuff that, needs to be done. And, but it was a little hard just watching, everything you were working for and your identity at that point,
mm-hmm.
just kind of be like, oh, and now I don't do that.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it was a little squirrely, but but not bad. And then years, I don't even know how long it was, but it was definitely a couple years at least before I really started putting together and getting a group together that ultimately ended up being the Frontiers.
Yeah. Let's talk
band.
about that. Yeah, and you wound up signing with Arena Rock, what you mentioned. Bring me through the
And
Frontiers.
and that was kind of like Arena Rock was kind of at a different space. He had moved from Brooklyn to Oregon, and ultimately, when we were looking for the label, I reached out to him and said, "Hey, do you want to put this out?" He's like, "Yeah, send it to me." I was like, "Oh man, don't you just want to put it out? Do you really need to
You know
hear
what
it?"
I do.
But ultimately he put it out, and I don't know that I think he agreed to do it before he heard it. So hopefully that wasn't a bad decision on his part. But so I forget how he did it. He released, I'm going to say he released the CD version and the digital version, and then maybe No Sleep
Oh, yeah.
released the vinyl version or something like that. If I'm right, something like like that worked out. I should go back and look. But yeah, we kind of got together and got a Brian Todd, who was a good friend, graphic artist here in town, and great bass player. He joined, and then we got our friend Eagle Barber, who had moved here from Seattle, and then Matt Weeder was in that band.
Oh, cool. What was that like writing songs with new people?
It was cool. It was it was one of the first times, I had not done it with, wrote music with Kevin or any of those guys. So, it was kind of a fresh thing, a new thing. It was fun. And then we ended up recording with Kevin. So he still
cool.
kept that, relationship going. It was fun. It just, it was just I think we were honestly maybe just a couple years early for that emo revival type thing that was going on. And, so we just kind of missed the wave.
That sucks.
But I had a great time with that band too.
Yeah. You put a full length out, and how do you feel about it? Just kind of bring me briefly through that.
Yeah. So we recorded that full length, and we recorded an EP. Ultimately it was just a kind of a continuation of just, getting these feelings out and getting, kind of where I was in that point in my life, just being a new dad and, that whole deal. A lot of some of the songs kind of revolve around, that world.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was, trying to think. I kind of get lost if I don't have a specific, but the, just trying to think of the shows with that, with
did you guys
with all
want to tour
bands.
for this at all?
We did some shows, but it was like I said, it was during the time, like you play shows and you hit some. It was the same thing, same way it was when you're a teenager.
Yeah,
it's a little harder to swallow, and
when you get older,
in your 30s.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're like, man, this is really hard to play for 5 people.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a hard pill to swallow. What how do you feel about being able to I'm gonna go kind of back to Elliott on this.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the influence of Elliott and maybe and the legacy, and you just as a songwriter, just what kind of the legacy and the impact that you've had on a lot of people?
Oh man, that's a hard one to answer, because it's hard to know fully. But when people have contacted me, or they talk and they say these incredibly gracious and humbling things. It does, as cliche as it sounds, it's just, it does mean a lot. It is the whole reason that you're doing it. When someone can listen to your music, and whether it be from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or it's right now, and it connects, it's like, people that are into music, we understand like what that means. I have those songs from other bands and other people, that have gotten me through the hardest times of my life, and if someone says that to me, I mean, that's it, it means more now than
Sure.
I could understand in my 20s.
Yeah.
Because it's such, because the way it connects. I was having dinner last night with some friends, and they're like, "Oh, what do you listen to right now?" I ran through some songs or some bands that I was into, and they were just sharing. It's like, yeah, I don't know how to find music like that, or I don't, it's music isn't it's hard for me to believe that music isn't a fundamental part of every single person's daily life. Like, not playing music, just enjoying music,
Sure.
or listening, or, so any influence that we've had on other bands or just other individuals, I mean, that's kind of what it's all about.
Absolutely.
It was never about, I don't even know that I could do what it would take to be in a band that, was a financial success. It's, I mean, just watching the people do it, it's kind of mind altering.
Yeah.
Just like,
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
like, man, like some of the productions, the everything that's involved. I mean, it gets to a point where it's like a Broadway show. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a big deal if you want to affect the mass audience that's out there.
Sure.
It's something different, and that's why I'm so happy. If I could play to 200 people a night, a nice small club, that's the dream.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Because that's where I get my connection from other
Totally.
bands.
I totally get
Once
it.
I get into a really big, I mean, and don't get me wrong, it'd be amazing, and I'm sure a dream that I can't even understand, playing to 20, 30,000 people. I mean, playing the Furnace Fest crowd was insane.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Then that's the next question to ask you. Bring me through kind of the reunion for that, and what that was like, being asked to do that, and what that show was like.
Yeah, it was great, a great experience. They took such good care of us, but but just seeing all the fans and being able to meet everybody, see all the other bands that kind of we've grown up with as well. That was first time I got to see Sunny Day Real Estate. So
they ripped.
That was huge. Yeah, they were so good. But being able to just share a bill with them was like a dream come true. So yeah, it was really cool. The being a part of that at the very beginning as well, and then having being able to come back to it, was cool, because I still remember that show, and the original Furnace Fest, was so dramatic and so.
Oh, it was epic. Yeah,
it was crazy, and there was. I've told this story a few times, but that's where Kevin. We were out in the sun all day, selling merch, doing whatever. Then he played, and so he got sick during we played, but he came back in on the exact note, because we have these like the interludes and stuff between songs that we did, and he came back in. He had fallen off his chair. He had gotten sick. He had fallen again, but came back in right on the beat.
That's sweet.
And I'll never forget that.
That's cool.
That first, Furnace Fest.
That's awesome, man. That's beautiful. Well, you've got upcoming dates, coming up here soon. What bring me through
Yep.
that, and how did that kind of came through?
Yeah. So we were asked to do similar to the Furnace Fest, where we were asked to do Furnace Fest, and then Alexis on Fire had us out, and this was a couple of years ago. They had us out, and we did some dates with them. It's kind of a similar thing. So the Best Friends Forever festival have asked us to play, so we're doing that on October 12th.
Oh, cool.
And so we were able to take that date and then kind of book some shows around it. So I believe we're starting in Buffalo, New York, and then working our way and kind of a real quick work our way back down. I'm not sure how this works, but we're starting in Buffalo, then playing Louisville.
Oh, wow.
and then we're kind of starting our thing. So then it goes to Indianapolis, Chicago, St. Louis, that whole area until we get
Midwest.
And then we'll get out to
Vegas.
Las Vegas, and then we head over to the West Coast for a few shows, and then.
Who are you going out with? Is it just you guys?
Right now, I think it's just us. We'll have local support on a lot of the small shows. We may hopefully be bringing somebody out, but I don't think we've gotten our
confirmation
yet.
Well, are you excited for these shows?
Thanks. Oh yeah, it should be fun. I mean, just being able to get out and play some more intimate venues, I think will be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And we've been, working through getting the set together for the Furnace Fest stuff. I hadn't played, in years, with anyone. So it was, getting just my chops back of, being able to sing 2 days in a row. So hopefully, this time out will be a little bit more, I'll have my stuff together a little.
Well, you guys crushed it at Furnace Fest, just for the record.
Oh, thank you.
Don't think don't think you're not doing it, because you're doing it, dude. So. Well,
thank you. Yeah, we had a good time, but it was now two of our members, Jay and Kevin, both live out in California.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit harder
logistically
to rehearse. So we did about a week rehearsals, and then we've been off, and then we'll probably and then we'll just have some days right before we head out.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Get it all.
Any new Elliott maybe in the future?
Definitely, maybe, if that's an answer. Jay and I we've talked about, we just had such a good time getting back together and playing. So I think there's definitely a possibility of
interest
of just filling that out, even if it's just for ourselves, and we might do that. But if it all makes sense, and if Kevin's into it and Ashley's into it, then I would love to kind of continue, but nothing right now that we've explored with or even got to play with, because time is so tight, especially when we just have a few days to get together for these tours.
Sure.
That it's just all about just getting these songs down,
the vibe, hanging out, and getting connecting and being able to crush it. Yeah.
But I would love for something to materialize.
Bro, make it happen.
That era, it would be cool. I wouldn't be against it.
Well, you do have a new project, Mirrorless. Bring me through this. What that's exciting to hear. I'm really stoked to hear it. Talk me through this.
Yeah, so this is a project with myself, Brian Roundtree, which everybody calls Tree, Ryan Patterson, and Ben Sears. And it's definitely kind of the fastest stuff I've done in a maybe ever really long time. We just it kind of was after that that Elliott stuff. I had seen some of those guys at at a show. I think might have been a Guilt reunion show. And they're like, hey, do you want to sing for this project? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And
That's awesome.
yeah, so we got together and we banged out these songs like super quick. And then it took me a long while to get lyrics put down to them, because that's just my nature of the way I work. It's not that I'm, writing anything, super in depth or hard. It just has to like ruminate for a while.
Sure. Sure.
So I think they were a little scared for a second if I was ever going to write lyrics, but we finally got everything together.
You said it's heavier. What's a band that it's similar to?
I mean, I don't know. It's definitely faster.
Or faster, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, having, they kind of go hand in hand. It might be a little heavier. There's definitely one song that I sang on that I was like, oh, this is the heaviest thing I've done, just in a scream type way. But yeah, I mean, I think it's got elements of, kind of your melodic hardcore, there might be some, I feel there's some like Dag Nasty-ish type,
Cool. Okay.
Guitar lines and stuff like that in it. But then when you put I put vocals on, I feel like I just ruin everything.
Oh, gosh.
It just, not ruin. It just sounds,
yeah.
I just do what I do.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not able to kind of go any further than,
I get you. I understand what you're saying.
Whatever my limits are, but having a great time doing it and loving it. And, yeah, we've got, I think we're going to announce here this week, the EP. It's coming out on Equal Vision.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah.
That label's crushing
they
right
were
now.
nice enough to do that. And it worked with us really hard on all the packaging and everything, and layout. So it's, it's something a little special there.
That's cool.
Just what we wanted to do. That they were just always like,
Are they doing vinyl for it and everything?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So
who'd you record the
release.
EP with?
So Ryan Patterson, the guitarist, he also has a studio.
Oh, cool.
Here in Louisville. So we recorded everything there, which makes it so nice, because we're just able to. He's got a wall of amps. I'm just able to go to practice and
that's fun, man. Pick
an amp and plug in. Makes it real easy. And he recorded everything, and it was kind of a DIY situation in that sense.
That's exciting, man. I'm really happy to hear that, and stoked that Equal Vision's putting out. That's really cool. And what you guys releasing a single that day too, or is it just the announcement?
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll have the release for the single, the announcement for the record, and then hopefully, I guess, pre-orders and
Sweet,
stuff like
dude.
that.
That's awesome, man. I mean, it sounds like you're very busy right now, which is an awesome thing. Especially the older you get,
at my age,
dude. I'm excited for you though. You're a creative and you need to be creating. So,
exactly.
For what it's worth, been a fan of your music, like I said earlier, for a long time. Really excited for the future for you on that. And I know you can't predict the future, but what do you think the future looks like for you?
Man, well, I hope it's just a lot of green lights.
Yeah.
I was taking my kid home from school the other day, and the first few days of the new school year, it took us like 2 hours to get home.
Wow.
And we're in the city. So, but then, then a few days into it, on the way home, like we changed how he was going to get out of school and how I was going to pick him up. And then I hit these green lights on Broadway, and it was just green lights we got home within like 20 minutes.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, yeah, that's what I want. I just want green lights. It doesn't have to be big, anything big. doesn't have to,
Yeah.
I just want to be able to, if I'm able to play music and people come out and see what we're doing and enjoy it.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That's
But,
awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
So it's just the Elliott tour. And then after that, Mirrorless is going to do a few shows,
Sweet.
hopefully on the East Coast, Midwest, it looks like, if we can find somebody to play with us. And it should be good.
That's exciting, Chris. I really am super honored to have you come on the podcast and talk with me. I'm just really cool to hear your story. Just super grateful for all the music that you've put out over the years. That's meant a lot to me personally, and I know a ton more people as well. But yeah, it's just really been cool to talk to you the last couple weeks, and really stoked that you just gave me your time to hang out and like I said, tell me your journey.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, and I'm glad to be a part of this.
Hey, listener, thank you for tuning in again and again. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to go on this journey with you. If you'd like to add me on Instagram or Facebook at The Rumors Are True Cast. If you'd like to like and subscribe, you know the drill. So thank you again for listening, listener. Thank you to Chris Higdon. Super honored to have you on this podcast, man. I've been a big fan over the years of all the music you've been a part of. So I really appreciate your time and being able to talk to you and just get to know you. So I really, really appreciate your time, Chris Higdon. Got some incredible artists on the horizon, guys, and you know it. Nostalgia is still a heck of a drug.
The podcast is produced by Wesley Hill, artwork by Jared Chase Bowser, and music by Brian Jaron. This episode is dedicated to the memory of my dear friend, producer, and man of many talents, Brian Jaron.